Sean Marks, who spoke today on the situation with their head coach.
Look, I think what happens in the locker room, I'd like to think stays in there. I'd love to get specifics and granular on all different types of things. But at the end of the day, this is a compromise that both Kenny and I and ownership came up with. I think I've said before that it was time. Kenny grinded and did everything he could, but there was time for another voice in that locker room, and it's our job now to find it. We use the players in a lot of different ways, whether it's Kenny thinking about sets and schemes and so forth. I think in this matter, this didn't involve the players. This was a matter where it was really a decision between Kenny and myself, and we brought in ownership when we needed to, and we arose at this decision. So this was purely amicable and mutually agreed upon between those parties.
Sean, how did Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving factor into this decision?
Same way the rest of all 17 players factored into it.
Interesting take right there. You hear what Sean Marks had to say. Your initial reaction, Sekou?
If he and Kenny Atkinson came to a mutual understanding about how this should happen, what's been going on all season? What have you been doing all year? If you haven't allowed Kenny Atkinson to kind of direct this team and run them the way he sees fit, he certainly got you to this point. And to Dante's earlier point, if you feel like you need a championship coach with these guys, you could have eliminated Kenny Atkinson a long time ago. You could have started over with a completely new program when you brought Kyrie in. I just don't understand how you expect your young guys to respond to this when they've grinded with Kenny Atkinson. He's the one who got Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie and these guys and Jared Allen to this point, and now you're telling him whatever he was doing wasn't good enough, and we got to find a new voice. That's strange to me.
They knocked it out the park with Kenny Atkinson, first and foremost. He did exactly what they wanted him to do, and he overachieved, honestly. I played for him in Atlanta. He's a great guy. He knows how to motivate the young kids. He knows how to develop the young kids. So he did his job. Now, it seems like the new veterans in town are kind of dictating that franchise, and that's what the tone is. He wasn't really giving too many answers. He wasn't saying what is what, but it's seeming like they need a new voice in that locker room. It's a similar situation going on in Philadelphia with Brett Brown. They need another voice to take them to another level. They have the talent now. They set some type of culture. That franchise is trending in an upward direction, and they look like they need another voice.
So speaking of that, another voice going into the offseason, there's obviously lists that are out there. I'm pretty sure he's already composed or compiled a short list of individuals that he think are fit to run that program. Who are some of the names that come to mind?
Well, first and foremost, for me, Tyronn Lue, a guy who knows how to manage stars, knows how to manage talent, great with X's and O's, has championship-level experience. He's dealt with Kyrie before, so knowing how to maximize his talent and put them in a situation where they can be a championship-level team, I think that's who sticks out for me first and foremost. You have to look at guys like Mark Jackson, Stan Van Gundy, and Jeff Van Gundy come to mind on that list as well. But there's going to be a list that comes along because they have talent, and you have to get somebody to magnify talent.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. Ty Lue is obviously the first name that will come to a lot of people's minds. If you're talking about a coach who can take you over the top in a championship, space, I don't know how you go with any career assistant who's never been a head coach.
Right, and that's why.
Anybody that would be making a transition from a broadcast booth that's never been a head coach. So it's like that list of names does get whittled down to a very select group. And Dante mentioned all of them. Stan Van Gundy, who I hate to lose off our air because he's been fantastic, but he's a coach. Some of these guys are coaches, and that's what they do. They're at their best. They're at their, in their comfort zone, coaching at a high level. But this is a very delicate situation. You got to find somebody that can come in and deal with two of the more interesting personalities in this league, in Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. And that's going to take somebody who can not only drill down a little bit with superstars, but also manage and massage the rest of those personalities in that locker room so they understand, hey, you're not playing on the Nets team you were on 2 or 3 years ago. You're playing with a completely different expectation and with guys who hold everybody else to a standard that you might not be used to.
Well, you mentioned Stan Van Gundy, who used to coach the Detroit Pistons, no longer there because he's here with us here at NBA TV, doing a great job. Let's go and take a look around the NBA tonight. A number of games, in fact, 6 of those being played tonight, starting with the Jazz and the Pistons.